Hello and welcome to this VB Rapid Development video. What we're going to be doing is quickly making a simple word game using WPF and VB.net. We also want to make sure everything is mapped out before we do anything, so that we have an idea as to what we intend on doing in code. Now, what I'm expecting in this video is that you know a little bit about Visual Studio, the IDE that's open right here. You know a little bit about, tiny bit about coding in VB.net. If not, then I'll explain most of the things. And also that you understand how to save your projects, and also you may have to stop the video sometimes to be able to type the code, but most of the time it's just a matter of paying attention first, then going back and doing it again. So let's go ahead and get started. Right now what we have here is this map that I have, and this map is actually, it represents what I intend to do in code. This is where the user will start, and these are all the rooms and the locations connected to those rooms. So each room is a location, or in the previous video what I called it are caves, but is the cave game that I've done many different times in other applications. We're simply doing that here in VB.net. As a matter of fact, there's a VB.net version of the cave on YouTube if you look it up, and it shows you how to do this, but it does it with JSON, so it's a bit more complicated than what we're going to be doing here. This video is actually more for beginners. We're not really getting complicated, and the way we do this is actually a way for learning, not necessarily the way you would always do it. So just keep that in mind. So really what we have here are these rooms, and we're going to start here in this start room. And what I'm thinking is, if you have, when you get to this engine room, you get this key. I'm not even sure if I want to open up one of the rooms with the key, but you'll get this idea of how you can traverse the rooms with some sort of navigation, pick up items, drop items. That's the main thing that we're doing here. We're not really focused on any sort of boss or anything like that, because it's mostly a word game that we're focused on as we push forward with this, and navigation. So now that we have that understanding, let's go ahead and open up Visual Studio. And in Visual Studio, you want to go ahead and start a new project. So I'm going to go to File, New Project. In this new project, I want to make sure it's WPF, and then make sure that you save it wherever you think you're going to save it. And let's call this a navigation or rooms game. All right, so although I'm naming mine this, I highly recommend that you have your own idea and you name it your own idea, and replace whatever I'm doing with whatever idea that you have. All right, so now that I have that name there, I'm going to click OK. I'm in WPF. Okay, so once VB start, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up our interface here, because we need some sort of navigation. So I'm going to change this background to dark. So what I need to do first is, I don't want the grid, I want this to be a canvas. So I select it here, or I can go down here in the WPF and I'm sorry, the XAML. I can go down here in the XAML and I can select this and then type canvas. So now I have a canvas. Now all I need to do is change this canvas background to black. I want it to be black, so I'm going to select it. And I can see these little dots here that tells me the canvas is selected. Also, I can see over here in the properties, the type that's selected is canvas. And then I'm going to go to the brush. And in the brush is the background that I want, which is good. I'm going to click on this button here. That gives me a solid color. And then I can change the color to whatever I want. And I'm going to make that black. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and add some buttons down here. So over here in the toolbox, and if you don't see your toolbox, it's probably because it's closed over here. All you need to do is click on that and then go up here to pin it, and it'll stay. I'm going to click on this button, and then I'm going to drag out a button that I want. And then once I have that button, I can go ahead and rename it by going over here and in the name spot, I'm going to type btn grab. btn grab, and then I'm going to scroll down here to the content and change button to grab. That content, when I change the content here, will show up here on the button itself. I also want the text on this to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to go under here under text, and I'm going to change the font style to something much bigger and interesting. And I'm going to change the size of this to be a little bit more interesting, maybe to 20, or maybe something a little bigger. Not that big. .24 looks good. I can also change the text to this and the background to this. So what if I just took this and I say, okay, I don't want this to be gray. What I need to do is go back up to the brush, and I can select that border or the background style here. And as you can see, I can change that background style by selecting it up here in the brush area. I can change the color. And the foreground is going to be the text, so I can also change the text. And we can also make this rounded if we wanted. But for right now, this looks good. And the reason why I did it this way, so that way I can take this and copy and paste it. And if you look down here in the XAML, I have two buttons, one on top of the other. So I just want to drag one over after I copied and pasted it. And then I'm going to change the name of the copy from btn grab underscore copy to btn drop. Now I just need to change the content of this drop down here to drop. Good. Now the only other thing I need two more things. I need something to hold a list of items, and then I need something to tell the user what's going on. So I'm just going to pull some images from online. Let's say, so I went and searched for navigation. So I put in navigation in here, and then I went under images right here. And then all I need to do is I'm just going to select one of these. Something like this looks good because it's a PNG, which tells me the background is probably clear. So I'm going to select that. I can see the background is clear. So I'm going to right click on this, and I'm going to save this image as navigation. I already had one here, so I'm going to save this as navigation 2. Let's save that, and then what you're going to see here is that it downloads down here. Now the trick is, the easiest way to do this, let me show you this really quick, is to grab this here and just drag it right there inside of my project. Now you can see navigation is right there. The only other thing I want to make sure that I do is select navigation, go down here to do not copy, and I want this to copy always. So that's it for that. I have that navigation there. Now all I need to do is take this navigation, and I want to put it here. But the way I put it here is I go here and I grab myself an image box, and I'm going to drag that over here. And then I am going to, I don't really need to name it. You should name everything. So I'm going to say img nav with that image box selected. And then I'm going to scroll down to the source right here. And in the source, I'm going to go to the arrow. And I should see that image I just dropped in there. And it should pop up here once I put it inside the source. Now what we need is some sort of label that goes here. So I'm going to go here and grab a label. I'm going to just drag it all the way across because I'm going to want that label to be all the way across everything. And right now there is text in that label. We just can't see it because the text is black. So with the label selected, I first want to change this label's name to LBL info. So that's LBL lowercase and info uppercase I. So with that LBL info selected, I'm going to go here to the foreground and I'm going to change the color of the text to white. So I select here, change the color to white, and as you can see it's white over here, and I'm just going to change the size of this just like I did with the button. and maybe a different font. Yeah, something like that looks good. I also want to actually make this text centered. Now, you're not really going to find that here. You're not going to find center text here. So this is why we need to actually go into, this is when we actually have to use XAML here. So with this label selected, I'm going to go down here in the XAML. And right after the name, I'm going to make some space. And in between that space, I'm going to type a line. And as I start typing a line, you'll see it says horizontal content align. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to put center. And then you can see how everything centers here. And I'm leaving the label word there so I can see how everything comes out. So now that I know this is fine, this is exactly how I want it, I'm going to now take that word label out of there. And you can change the text to whatever you want to do before you do that. But when you're done with it, then you can go into the content area and remove that word label. And then you're going to save everything. The other thing I want to make sure I do is this main window up here. I'm going to select that main window right there. And then I'm going to go down to the title area. And I'm going to change this to the name of the game. So I have that set, and I have all this set. Now the last thing I'm going to need is a list box. So I need to go over here and grab a list box, and I'm just going to put that over here somewhere where it doesn't overlap the label. And I don't really want this list box to look like this. What I'm going to want is, while that list box is selected, I'm going to the brush area. I'm going to want the foreground, which is the text, to be white. I'm going to want the background. I don't want any background. So I'm just going to select this and then select this first one. And I don't want any border. So I'm going to select this border here, and I'm going to select this first one here. I'm just going to name this. I got to make sure I name everything. So I'm going to select that list box, and I'm going to type LST for list. And I'm going to name that items. So one of the main things we always understand is that we have to name everything. If you look at my buttons, all of these are named, and I'm naming them as I go. So that way there's no confusion. This label here is named, and I put LBL so I know that's a label. And actually, you know what, I'm going to, because this list is not going to be very long, I'm going to take this list box and I'm going to drag it up here and put it at the top, and then maybe move my label down just a little bit and nudge the navigation down. Now, in order for this navigation to work, it's just an image. So I'm going to put buttons over each part of the navigation. So the way I do that is I go over here and I take a button, and I'm going to drag it right over the N, just like that. I'm going to do one at a time. Now, with that button directly over the N, I'm going to name that button BTN North. Now I'm going to go to the background of that button. I'm going to select the background, and I'm going to click on this no brush because I don't want anything back there. And for the foreground, I'm going to click on that and click no brush. And then for the border right here, I'm going to click no brush on that. So it's basically an invisible button there. With that button that way, now all I need to do is copy it and paste it. And now you can see with it pasted, I have this BTN North is selected here, and I'm going to select the edge of that. If you look at what I'm doing, I'm selecting just the edge till the cursor turns into that crosshairs, and I'm going to drag that one right over this E, and then I'm going to rename it BTN East. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. Go. And then this one would be BTN South. So I could also just copy and paste this and then drag it over. Once I drag it over, I want to make sure I rename it BTN West. BTN South, I'm just checking. BTN East, BTN North. Good. So I have all of these buttons set, and my entire interface is ready to go. In the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to start coding this. So I'll see you guys then. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And make sure you like and share. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.